So let's talk about these ratings, because people have lost their minds over these ratings on Wednesday nights. So let's break this down and put this to bed once and for all as far as where things stand, because all I see is a lot of sniping and shouting back and forth by people on both sides who, in a lot of cases, don't really know what the hell they're talking about. For Fyter Fest and the Great American Bash, the story this week was the same as it was for week one. The only difference being both shows were down from the week before, which is not a good thing. In terms of total overnight viewers, for the third week in a row, the first time that has happened since Dynamite debuted in October, NXT bested AEW in total viewers for the night, 759,000 to AEW's 715,000. But also, like the week before, AEW won the 18 to 49 demo and was ranked 7th for the night on cable in that category as compared to NXT, which ranked 24th for the night. In fact, AEW won every single quarter hour of the night against NXT in 18 to 49, including the big Keith Lee versus Adam Cole match, which was very surprising to me. I mean, I know that won in total viewers, but in terms of the 18 to 49 that everybody loves to talk about, even that, AEW won against the biggest match NXT could have put out. Tony Khan tweeted, he says, if anybody thinks that I consider being a top 7 show on cable anything but a huge win, they are incorrect. A win in the demo is a win in the business, and this is a business. I know the industry was not talking about the demo as much 20 years ago, but it's what drives our revenue today. He then proceeded to post a whole series of tweets, instead of leaving well enough alone, including a photo of the ratings chart. And he ended with this. He goes, my favorite thing about some of the frequent repliers to my tweets is how the 18 to 49 demographic is these people's best friend on Mondays and Fridays. And then they act like they never even heard of it on Wednesdays. First of all, I don't know what the hell he's talking about, because I don't know what he's looking at or where he's lurking. I know he used to be, a big fan and would read the newsletters and everything, so maybe he's, perusing some of the wrestling message boards, which I would hope he's not doing. I would hope he has better things to do than that. I don't hear anybody talking about demos for Raw on Monday nights. I just hear people rightfully talking about how the audience is going down, down, down. So that's number one. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Number two, for Tony Khan to be wasting his time posting ratings charts in response to a bunch of trolls just trying to get a rise out of him. There is nothing wrong with being proud of your success. He should be proud. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But he does not need to be tweeting out stuff like that. What the hell is he doing? And then you have Chris Jericho. This is even worse. Why the hell is Chris Jericho vanity searching his name for tweets about ratings and then replying to people about it? Some random fan on Twitter did not even tag him. He didn't tag at I am Jericho. He just posted a tweet about Adam Cole and Keith Lee, destroying Jericho and Orange Cassidy in total audience. Didn't tag anybody. And Jericho ended up quote tweeting this guy to correct him because some of the numbers were wrong. I mean, but that's beside the point. How did he find this guy? If he didn't vanity search him, how did he even find this guy? He wasn't tagged. So Jericho quote tweets the guy and corrects him. What the hell is Chris Jericho searching these people out and replying to them for? It is embarrassing. He does not need to be doing that. It is beneath him. Now, from the sounds of it, TNT is very happy with how Dynamite has been doing. And because there has been so much debate about demos of late, let's just clear this up, okay? I actually thought that Mike Johnson had a great take on this on PW Insider. Talked a little bit about this. Yeah, he says that Warner Media is so happy with AEW's performance of late. There has been a lot of talk in recent weeks about coming up with additional ways to link AEW, link them in some way with other Warner shows, other Warner properties, brands, what have you. I have not heard any kind of update on the second AEW show that was supposed to be part of this new contract. I assume the pandemic put that on ice because, is now really the time to be doing a second show? Probably not. But I've heard nothing new. They're supposed to have a second show, not Dark, something totally new. And there's been no talk or no movement on that at all. But I guess it's in the contract. So maybe they're just waiting and, it's like a 3 or 4 year contract that they have. So at some point that second show will come. But they're very happy, by all accounts, with AEW to the point that they are talking about, again, synergy of some kind with other Warner brands and Warner properties. If you are an AEW fan, if you are a wrestling fan, that is great news. You want to hear stuff like that. Because that TV deal is the lifeblood of that company. So I get it when Tony Khan is talking about this is a business, it's the 18 to 49 that keeps us going. That contract with TNT, with Warner, that is what is keeping this company afloat. At a time when they are not making money off live ticket sales, live merch sales, because they're not running any events with fans. All they have is the money from the TV contract. That's it. You take that away, there is no more AEW. So if Warner is happy, then that's great news for them. The demos are important. Not saying they're not. I see me, I like, because I've had people say to me, well, how come you always talk about the total audience? The demos are really important, aren't they? Yes, they are. The demos are very important. The 18 to 49 demo. Not just with wrestling, but TV in general. As a fan, maybe I don't give a shit, but if you're an advertiser, if you're paying for airtime on that show or on that network, that's what they look at. I like citing the total audience when I give ratings updates because I like mentioning who had the most eyeballs on the night. Despite what people may say, I still believe that that's an important number. It's an important gauge of a television show's popularity. So I like putting that number out there. And that does not include, by the way, any of the DVR numbers for Dynamite or any of the DVR numbers for NXT. My understanding is that the DVR numbers have typically favored AEW by a fairly large margin over NXT. So even when NXT, those rare occasions when NXT would win the overnight number, in the end, AEW would end up with more viewers. Nobody really talked about that. But that's been the case for a while now. Per the Observer, that gap in recent weeks has narrowed a lot. So NXT, if they haven't closed the gap, they've gotten a lot closer when it comes to the DVR numbers. We also don't have any way of knowing exactly how many more viewers NXT gets from the WWE network. I don't imagine that it's hundreds of thousands more, but could it be 50,000, 150,000? We don't know because they don't publicly release those numbers. When that NXT replay hits the network on Thursday night, we don't know. But people wait for these overnight numbers on Thursdays because that's what everybody is conditioned to do. That's what everybody does for Raw and SmackDown every week, and that's what everybody used to do with Raw and Nitro 20 years ago, 25 years ago. We are creatures of habit. The reason Monday Night Raw will not be canceled, as I've been asked about before, the numbers are going down. Is Monday Night Raw going to be canceled? Is that even though their total audience continues to decline, which it does, even though that continues to happen, their demo numbers are still good. So you can't say the demos don't matter because Monday Night Raw is a great example of why they do. Because the numbers overall are going down, down, down. But the demos are allowing USA to stay competitive in the top 10, top 5, top 3 on cable every single week, which is all they care about. Now even those demos are starting to slip up a little bit. That's got to be a big concern to WWE. But they will usually come in at number 1 or number 2 on the night. On Mondays and Fridays, not always. That doesn't mean they're declining. Total audience is not something to be alarmed about. It absolutely is, and it's a problem that they have failed to address for a number of years now. Nostalgia will not work. Brought back Christian recently. Ric Flair's back on TV. The Big Show. It's not doing them a lot of good. Everything is about the younger audience when it comes to TV, unless you're CBS, I guess, the old people's network. But that's the data that the networks deliver to the advertisers, and the advertisers are the ones who pay the bills. So when Chris Jericho or Tony Khan talk about the demos, they're not wrong. And they have consistently beaten NXT in all but the 50 and over demo pretty much since Dynamite debuted almost a year ago in October. There have been a few times where they have won the older demo too, but NXT usually has that on lockdown. Older people really like NXT for some reason. I haven't quite figured out what it is. You know, I don't really understand why. But yeah, boy, the 50 and over, they sure do love their NXT. But I still like looking at the overnight number, and part of that is just habit. But I don't think it should be ignored either. You know, NXT has now done something that it has never done before. It has won the overnight audience against AEW for 3 straight weeks. So it's something that they can be proud of. But by no means does that spell doom and gloom for AEW. No matter how hard the AEW haters want to will that into existence, it's the beginning of the end. For whom the bell tolls, the end is nigh for AEW. All these fools and their dumb comments and their dumb memes, no matter how much they try to will that into existence and make that a reality, it is not doom and gloom for AEW. In fact, TNT is thrilled with those numbers. And that is good news, because competition is the reason why we ended up with the Great American Bash as counter-programming. You know, Triple H did an interview with Sports Illustrated, and he said that they don't counter-book. But he never said they don't counter-program. Counter-programming and counter-booking are two different things. And that's exactly what they did. They counter-programmed. Which is fine. I would have done the same thing. Nothing wrong with that. And it's why we just had a winner-take-all title-for-title match on NXT television and not on an NXT TakeOver special. Because if you think were it not for this little competition, we'd be getting Adam Cole against Keith Lee, champion versus champion, on anything other than TakeOver, you're out of your mind. That's the biggest match they've ever done. That's the biggest match they've ever given away, I should say, on NXT television. As a fan, I like competition. We need more of it. We need more competition, not less. We need more. Which again is why all of the folks who continue to wish ill or wish death upon AEW, you are not fans, you are fools. You are a fool. When you look in the mirror, when you wake up in the morning and you go to bed at night, you look at yourself in the mirror, you know what you see stamped across your forehead? Fool. You should get it tattooed there. We need both shows to do well. I do wish those numbers were higher for both shows, because I thought they were both very good. We actually had a first this week. For the first time since I have been posting the Twitter polls for both shows, Dynamite and NXT, tied. They didn't just tie. They were dead heat right down to the decimal point, because now the Twitter polls allow for decimal points, which previously they didn't. I said, what did you think of the Great American Bash? Night 2. With 1,928 votes in, 77.8% thumbs up, 22.2% thumbs down. What did you think of Night 2 of AEW Fyter Fest? With 1,850 votes in, so less than 100 vote difference, but some votes short on the AEW side, but not by much. 1,850 votes in for Fyter Fest. 77.8% thumbs up, 22.2% thumbs down. That has never happened before in all the time I've been doing these polls for any show. Right down to the decimal point like that, that's insane. That's pretty crazy. But that tells you how evenly matched these shows were this week, and I think how much people overall liked them. So I wish the TV ratings were higher, but I want you to keep this in mind. And this is the point that I made at the very beginning of the show when I said that there's something that happened here that not a lot of people, if anybody else, has talked about. But it's a story. It's a story to watch. Both shows this week combined, and this is just the overnight audience. This is not the final number, but the overnight audience. they combined for almost 1.5 million viewers. Now, they've had weeks where they've done more than 1.5 million, but here's why this is interesting. They combined for almost 1.5 million, right? 1.5 million viewers. Monday Night Raw this past week averaged a little over 1.6 million viewers. That's the second lowest viewership in the history of that show. It is the closest that we have come to seeing Dynamite and NXT combined to almost not only match the Raw audience, but beat the Raw audience. That has never happened before. It's never even really been that close. And one of these weeks, it may well happen. It may well happen. That to me is less of a sign of how good the Wednesday night numbers are and more a sign of how far that Monday audience has fallen. You know, ratings do not always correlate to the quality of a show. Lots of quality TV shows over the years have been canceled prematurely because of low ratings. You know, one does not always equate to the other. But if there is any justice in this world, Dynamite and NXT will soon top Monday Night Raw. Not going to top SmackDown most likely. SmackDown's on Fox. That audience, it's kind of baked in that it's always going to be at least a little bit higher than Raw, although it's getting kind of dangerously low. But if there's any justice in this world, before long, these two shows on Wednesdays will be able to combine to top Monday Night Raw because they have been more consistently entertaining than anything that I have seen on Monday nights and even on most Friday nights, especially this week. And I wish the numbers would bear that out. And if things keep going the way they're going, it may happen a lot sooner than most people think.